Alright, time to talk about crossover. I tried Game of Thrones, got it installed, but servers are down. So I tried another one of my games. Oh, the video is not supported by a crossover for this game. Another game that I like. Anyways, because I do like more than just the core app, you know. Anyway, my overall is going to be interesting for you. However, crossover does require Rosetta translation layer in order to run because it's not Apple Silicon accelerated or written for Apple Silicon. So therefore it still needs Rosetta, which impedes gaming performance quite a bit. So it's interesting to be able to run the same game, for example, Core with my Island Survival Alpha. It's interesting that I ran on that M4 Air that I gave back, sent back. That's a story. Got a video on that one. So I got my M1 back anyways and played it on there. And it's like, okay, so the M4 is a little bit better, even with the same amount of RAM. Drive space is negligible. It's a little bit better on the M4. Kind of expected that because, video editing is a little quicker and, so is compressing. But that's only a little bit better. If you want an exceeding amount better, well, prepare to buy a Mac that's configured in such a way that you're going to be looking at probably about $5-6 grand worth of a Mac. And even that's a finite lifetime right now because Apple's going to be removing Rosetta soon. Many of you should know this, and if you don't, surprise! Okay, which means once they do, that means that unless Crossover Codeweavers has an Apple Silicon Pure version ready in time, you're screwed. Okay, so you won't be able to run it anymore once Rosetta's pulled. So we have one friggin' pain in the butt after another, okay? But then you still gotta need a badass Mac just to get really decent results for gaming. And we're still not gonna see the same results on Mac, even with the new M5s coming down the pipe, okay? But Apple's gonna promise you a lot. And they're going to lie, and you're going to believe their crap. And you're going to believe a lot of YouTubers, too, that don't even know what they're talking about. And it'll be too late, right? Because you wasted your money. Hang tight for a while. Don't just jump on the newest badass Mac because it's the newest, I gotta have it. It's so much better. Look at the videos. Look at the benchmarks. Oh, yeah, benchmarks are BS. Real world is what has meaning. But anyway, Crossover ran into another issue with one of my games where it doesn't support the video for the game. I even put Crossover into, with the Epic Game Launcher into automatic, and it's like, nope, no support. It's like, shit, there goes that game. Yeah, I can play that on a friggin' old computer. Anyway, I honestly can say that it's now convinced me that when I can afford it, I'm going to buy myself a new badass PC. I do miss my Omen, but bills had to be paid, and I just got the damn thing, and it's like, all of a sudden, shoot. And all I had of value was the Omen. So, well, it's a pain. But I shall get a new computer down the road. Just not anytime soon. Maybe next year. In the meantime, I still have my wife's home, and we'll spend $100 eventually and crank some extra RAM into it, and I'll use that for now. So, but I'm not going to buy a new Mac. It's as much as I kind of really thought that MacBook Air was pretty decent, I'm actually kind of glad it's gone and I'm back to my M1 because considering how crappy things are with gaming, still on Mac, which, I mean, I would love to be able to leave the PC world behind and just run like these programs that allow us to run games and all this. The thing is even Apple's a greedy Gretchen when it comes to the games on the App Store that have been put into Apple Silicon, and they're really pissing in the developers' feet too. So it's like, you know, you want to buy a Mac, buy a Mac. Okay. Now, unless you're a professional graphics company, I probably wouldn't spend more than maybe $3,000 on a Mac tops. Okay, like, and I do mean tops, because you're not going to need all that extra horsepower unless you're a professional company. Same as for recording music. I mean, just go buy a friggin' M1 and run it until it's off the internet in about another, I don't know, 6, 7 years, 8 years. They get quite a lot of life out of a Mac, even once the final security updates come through. You still get a lot of time to surf and have some at least browser security, which I think is pretty important. But well, all security is important, that's for sure. The thing is I just after the difference here between the M4 and the M1, there really isn't all that big of a change, even playing the same game, okay, through crossover. And I do have a video on the M4 doing this. Same amount of RAM. Now I'm probably in virtual memory with either computer, which whatever. But the thing is, there's not all that much difference. Okay, and you can pick up one of these things used just for the box in Canada right now for, you know, around $500 as a 16 by 512. You know, then throw a screen on it and, you know, whatever. But with crossover, it also gave me another issue uninstalling it with their uninstaller. Well, they guarantee it rips out all of their program. What it doesn't guarantee you is that it's not going to rip out other programs you had running through there that got put into your OS. My core game somehow, instead of being in a contained bottle installation thingy, which it's supposedly supposed to be, installed parts of its life into my Mac OS, which the uninstaller cannot rip out. And I only found one location. I'm sure there's more than one. Okay, I didn't even bother looking for Game of Thrones to see if that was in there too, but it was enough that I don't know about all the pieces. And it's kind of like, well, this is a problem. So I had to reformat my computer again this morning, and now I'm re-downloading all my shit all over again. All because of that pain in the butt thing. Oh, it's a great emulator. Well, to a certain point, sure. And it does play games a lot better than Parallels will. Parallels is a waste of money and a joke, at best. And even Crossover can run regular applications, okay? But in all fairness, you buy a Mac for production. You don't buy it for games. At least not yet, anyway. If you don't want to spend money on a PC, you'd rather waste it, you know, on maybe or maybe not running a game, okay? Then by all means, go with Crossover, but you will waste some money, right? Because not all games are free, right? That's the thing. And you don't know if it's going to be compatible with Crossover unless somebody already has info on it. In which case you might be putting out $80 or $100 or $70 or $30 on a game that it turns out it doesn't even run because Crossover is not supporting it. Okay? And that's the thing you run into with programs like this. And then you still got to pay $80 almost for Crossover. So, and that's US, right? And it's not even Apple Silicon accelerated yet. And don't tell me it is because you're a liar, because when you see Rosetta needing to be installed to run it, that tells you right there it's an Intel-based app. It is not a universal app. It is a Rosetta requirement. Therefore, it's an Intel chipped-based app. So it's not accelerated, and I wouldn't spend $75 US on that program right now when Apple is about to rip out Rosetta. So I would wait until they actually have a Apple Silicon Accelerated version, which would also maybe increase gaming performance, even on my little M1 here, okay? Which it didn't do too bad. It was very, very playable, okay? Once I got my settings figured out in my game and within Crossover to work. So, but in all honesty, I think if you want to play games and you prefer a computer for that, because I know I do, just buy a PC, okay? Mac, you buy it for production, okay? That's where Mac is second to none. There's nothing that can touch it, any Mac. I don't care if your PC can do something faster. It can't do it better, okay? That's the thing. Now, PCs are getting better, but they're never going to be a match for Apple, okay? At least not anytime within this century. But with that being said, I'm still pondering, you know, should we just upgrade the wife's computer and continue to share it because she doesn't mind, because she does have 8 gigs of graphics and she's got 8 core performance core chip. We just got to upgrade the RAM. So I'm thinking, you know, I haven't even talked to her about this, so she's going to hear about it and go, wow. But, you know, if she doesn't mind continually sharing, I'll share with her. And we'll just upgrade the RAM in her computer and get it running the way I need it. But then that means we're going to also have to upgrade that internal drive to at least a 4 terabyte. Because, yeah, even 2 terabyte on my last system was kind of really borderline. Even for the amount of games I had, which wasn't a ton. Games are big, right? So, but if you want the best gaming experience, don't even waste money on a Mac for that. Because you're going to have to spend thousands of dollars more than anybody else just to play some cool games and play them half decent at best. Okay, even Apple Accelerated games are playing half decent at best. Okay, and we're getting far better results on a real PC that, yeah, you could buy probably 2 really kick-ass Windows laptops for the price of 1 Mac that you're gonna still not get a really great experience on in comparison. And I've been running PC and Mac for years, okay, so I know this stuff way too well. And I've learned something too between the M1 and the M4 that also tells me that it's not justifiable to go to an M4 if your M1 is still doing the job for you. As long as you got at least 16 gigs or more RAM, your M1 is still going to continue to be absolutely outstanding for you, you know, until end of life, you know, which is usually 10 years for a Mac. So, which is sad because PCs can go 20 and 30 years. But, hey, you know, and then you just upgrade them if they're towers. So, you know, if they're a laptop, a little bit different. But that's where I'm at with this. I'm not going to say I'm not going to recommend it as a program to use. It can work. It can work well, depending on your Mac. But I would say this right now, because Apple is planning for 2026 to pull Rosetta, which will probably be Mac OS 27, is likely where it's going to happen. We're going to find out what happens on Mac OS 26 soon enough, or 26 soon enough. But I wouldn't waste a dime on it at this point until they have a pure Apple Silicon version, because that will give you not only a better gaming experience than what we're getting with Rosetta Translation, which is slugging its ass down, okay, and preventing certain videos from taking proper resolutions that we prefer, but it'll also save you some money, a little bit, on a computer, if you're going to do it on a Mac. But you're going to need a lot of internal drive space, just be aware. And we know Apple charges big blood money. So if you're running a Mac desktop, just get an external drive and get a big one that you like, and make sure it's Thunderbolt, and throw that and put your whole operating system and all your shit onto the external drive, and don't even use the internal drive in your Mac, okay? That would be your best, cheapest option for mass storage. So just pay Apple's money for the RAM, but not for the drive space, all right? Because, yeah, it'd be a lot cheaper this way. Anyway, but yeah, I wouldn't buy it until it's Apple Silicon accelerated. And I'm going to try it again down the road probably, you know, once they do have it where they don't need Rosetta, and see how it runs that way. You know, does it improve? Or it should, because it's Apple Silicon native, then it should. But right now it's not native for Apple Silicon and it's not accelerated. So can't take advantage of our chips. So we're still lacking a lot of performance, even crossover, that we could have. Anyway, that's where I'm at with the whole crossover thing. I gotta finish reloading my Mac for the rest of the damn day again. And that'll be the end of that crap for running emulators for a while. So, see ya.